What's up guys, my name is Ace, and something you guys may have seen floating around already are these map flyovers for Modern Warfare 4, showing off 4 of the maps that are going to be in the game at launch. And Activision did send these files over to me as well, so I can use them. And I think most people are just looking at these and talking about the general vibes, and for some of the content creators that got to play, they get to share their impressions as well, which is excellent. However, I'm sure most of you guys know me, I like diving quite a bit deeper into things when possible. And it turns out we actually saw enough angles with this that I was able to piece together the general layouts of 3 out of these 4 maps at least. So we're actually going to be looking at the overhead view of these maps and judging them based on their structure, not just based on their looks. Now, huge disclaimer, these are obviously not going to be like perfectly to scale with all the angles worked out flawlessly. And also, there will be certain sections where I had to make some assumptions and maybe connect the dots in a few areas, and they may not be perfectly accurate. So I don't want you to take these map layouts as gospel. It's more so just to give you a very general idea of the structure and lane design of these maps, so we can talk about them. Also, it is early on. We still may see some adjustment to some of these maps as well by the time we get it in our hands. But with that covered, let's dive into Lotus, and that's the one you've been seeing all of these initial clips on. And this was the map layout I was able to put together based on that. And we actually got quite a few clips, so I'm fairly confident on this layout. With one exception, and that is toward the right-hand side of the map. We didn't get all the details there. So like behind Hostel and the building that was labeled as Mocha, we didn't really get to see all the pieces of cover there. And there's also another big question I have that they didn't quite show off, and that is below Balcony House, as you're looking at it right now, I don't know if there's like a little alleyway there that connects to that back Hostel lane or not. I suspect there is a way to get through there, but I'm not 100% sure on that because we didn't quite get a good enough angle there. But outside of that, at least looking at the general structure, I am quite confident this is a solid representation. And just to help you connect the dots here with the clips that we were shown, first I want you to focus on Balcony House. That's this white building right here that has the balcony on it. Then after that, just across the street from it, we have barbecue. I just did some Google Translate, and the text on there translated to barbecue, so that's why we call that one barbecue. And then after that, we have the middle fishery building. This is the one with the logos on it. We also got an inside look at the fishery, at least on the bottom floor, it appears. And we also got this little gameplay clip of a player climbing up the pipe toward the second floor of the fishery. As for Boathouse, this is that half-destroyed burning building that's on the water, and there's a fish hanging from the corner of it. Then after that, getting over to the squid side of the map, I called it squid because there's a big squid statue there, and near that we have the cafe and building that's labeled as Mocha. And then finally, for these points, we have the hostel here, where it looks like we'll at least have second story access to that. Not sure if we'll have access to the bottom floor. So overall, looking at this, it does appear this is going to be a general 3-lane structure. 3-lane tends to work best with 6v6 Call of Duty, although with it being Infinity Ward style, it's not highly symmetrical, and it does appear there's going to be a lot of room to cut between lanes, unlike what you would see with a Treyarch COD, for instance, where they typically keep things a lot more controlled, and also more formulaic, so this is more of a loose 3-lane structure. It does appear there's going to be more room for creativity in navigating this map, but also with that, more places that enemies could potentially come from at any given time. And when it comes to the size of this map, based on what I've seen, I would classify this as a medium-sized map. It's not massive by any means, but it's also not tiny. It's just somewhere in the middle there. So that's Lotus, and overall, I am liking the look and layout of that map so far. Of course, really need to get my hands on it and play it to know for sure. But out of the 4 maps we're looking at today, layout-wise, this one actually appears to be one of the better ones. As for the next map they showed us, this is Mumbai. And this time I'll talk about some of the key features before we look at the overhead. So try to remember these. We've got the really colorful street here with multiple vehicles on it. Then this second story building here seems to be very important. It appears to be like right in the middle of the map, and you can cut through at least through the second story. I didn't see much for a lower story access aside from stairways. Then toward one of the ends of the map, we have what I call the drop down area. You can see the pipes there for climbing. You can drop down into that like dried up canal or whatever it is. And then on the left-hand side of that, you can see what I'm going to call the market. I thought it would be like a train station or something, but it looks more like a market just based on the kiosks I'm seeing there. So I'm calling it market at least. And then finally, we've got the train side of the map. So there's actually a train track right on the edge of the map that comes through here. And along with that, it appears there will be a dynamic event where an actual train comes through, presumably can kill you there as well. And that'll likely also be generating a ton of noise. And with those features all covered, this is the overhead view I was able to come up with. So you can see I've got this laid out where the train tracks are toward the top side of the map, and that drop down area is on the bottom side of the map, with that second story building in the middle. And it does appear that there are multiple window access points to that second story, as well as a stairway access point from street level to go up, One area I am uncertain of is on the far right-hand side. We didn't get a good look at that, so that is a question mark. I don't know exactly what they're doing with that back area. I'm assuming it is going to be one of the main spawn points over there, at least for most game modes. But what I do know is we have those two alleyways that cut in toward the colorful street area. I just didn't see exactly where those went to toward the right-hand side of the map. And then, of course, we have the market on the left-hand side of the map. So with this one, it actually appears to be quite a basic map overall. And I'll admit, I'm a little bit skeptical about this one and how it's going to flow overall, especially with the center lane effectively being a second-story building with just a few limited access points. It does seem like that area might play a little bit strange, and that might become like a big power position that you lock down. But time will have to tell on that one. Next, let's take a look at Silkworm. And this one is a very urban map taking place on the streets of, I assume this is Seoul, South Korea. I could be wrong on that, of course. And with this, at first, it was a little bit difficult to piece together, but I think I've managed to recreate at least a decent structure with this, with one big question mark area once again, just like with Mumbai. And this is what I've come up with. The big question mark is going to be toward the bottom side of the map. I believe there is some sort of a route. We do see some narrow alleys and a stairway that goes up somewhere over in that area of the map. And we even got that little gameplay clip yesterday coming down the stairs from that area, but I don't know what it looks like up those stairs. And then with that, I also suspect it is going to be connecting on the bottom right. I think there is going to be a pathway there. And we see that from this image right here. This is behind the crab building. To the left, it looks like there is an alleyway that goes in that direction, and therefore it likely does connect somewhere on the bottom right of the screen as you're looking at it here. Either way, with this one, we have the main street area that's full of most of the vehicles there. Then toward the back, we can see a PC cafe as well as Go24, a little convenience store. And we have actually seen a character run through that convenience store, and you can see the PC cafe there as well. Also, a lot of people have noticed Overwatch is canon for this game. There are Overwatch posters and a StarCraft poster in the background as well in the PC cafe. Additionally, with that middle building area, we can see there is a route that cuts right through the middle of that. And then we can also see the back parking lot area here. With one of the clips we saw yesterday, we can see the character traveling from that back parking lot through that area and toward the Go24 convenience store. So once again, depending on what's going on that bottom lane, it does appear we do have, yet again, another 3-lane structure. I know a lot of people give 3-lane structures a hard time, but 3-lane just tends to work best for 6v6 because it divides players generally fairly equally through the lanes. There's a decent chance you're going to be finding combat if you're looking for it. And this is yet another map where, as far as I can tell, I would classify it as a medium-sized map. And I do think I'm going to like this one, but I think a lot of that hinges on what's going on that bottom lane. How useful is that lane? Is it just going to be a flank route, or is it going to be like a proper lane with pieces of cover you can play around in? I really don't know at this stage. But at the very least, aesthetically, I'm really liking the looks of this map. I really like bright, clean maps, urban combat with no bushes or anything, so I do think I'm going to like this map overall, but again, we will see. And then finally, we have one last map we got some clips on, and this is Rooftop. And I'll admit, I was not able to confidently piece together an overhead view of this map, partially because we didn't get as many clips of this map as the others, and another reason is we don't have as many distinctive points of interest to really pull from and piece things together. So this one we are just going to judge based on these clips that we're seeing, and I will say this map actually looks like it's got a decent size to it. It's hard to judge the scale, but if you do look at some of the points of interest, it does appear to be quite a bit bigger, at least than I thought at first glance. I initially thought this was going to be quite a small map, and also a fair amount of complexity with plenty of pieces of cover, several areas where you can cut between things. There's also like a laundromat area, so there's some inside areas, some outside areas, a little bit of elevation change here and there as well. And I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of parkour elements on this as well, based on those little elevation changes we're seeing. And so with this, I don't really have as much of an opinion as the rest so far, but I'm very curious to check it out at the very least. And there we have it. That is going to wrap it up for the 4 maps that we've had a look at so far for Modern Warfare 4. Overall, it does look like they are sticking at least to a very general 3-lane structure on most of these maps, if not all of them so far. But as I mentioned before, it's obviously not Treyarch style either. It's not like perfectly symmetrical with perfectly placed pieces of cover that are heavily designed for highly competitive play. Instead, they are a little bit more of a playground style 3-lane map where there is a structure to them, but there's a lot more room to play around and be creative with your gameplay and cut between lanes, for instance. There are definitely pros and cons attached to that, and really it just comes down to personal preference at the end of the day. Some people love these style of maps, whereas others prefer the more formulaic style. And then another thing I've mentioned, I've had a lot of questions about this, is are there going to be doors on these maps? And you might have noticed looking at these clips, it doesn't appear there's a lot of doors, but if you pay close attention, there definitely are some interactable doors that you can see. However, it doesn't appear that they felt the need to put a door in literally every single doorway that exists on the map, or every little choke point that you could technically fit a door in. And that's looking good so far. Of course, we are also only seeing 4 out of the 12 launch maps for 6v6 for the game, so we have no idea what the other maps are going to look like, but this is where I'm curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. Based on these clips that we're seeing, as well as the map layouts I was able to figure out, how are you feeling about these maps so far? Are you guys liking what you're seeing, or maybe not so much? If you enjoyed this video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.